I had been married to Jenna for 8 years, and for most of that time, I thought we were inseparable. We shared laughter, late-night talks, weekend adventures, and the kind of intimacy that comes from truly knowing another person. But over the past few months, something had shifted. There were subtle changes: longer hours at work, vague excuses for missing dinner, a distracted air when we were together. I dismissed them at first, telling myself that life was busy. That stress could explain her distance. Then one evening, after a quiet dinner at home, she dropped the bomb. I had been talking about planning a small weekend getaway. Just the two of us, hoping to rekindle the spark that seemed to be fading. Jenna listened silently, her fork paused halfway to her mouth, eyes fixed on some distant point in the living room. Finally, she spoke, her voice unusually steady. "I think we need to be honest with each other," she said. My stomach tightened. I nodded cautiously, bracing myself. I only see you platonically now," she said, as if stating a simple fact about the weather. The words hit me like a slap. I stared at her, disbelief mingling with shock. "Platonically," I repeated, my voice a mixture of hurt and confusion. "You mean, just as a friend?" "Yes," she said, almost casually. "I don't feel the same romantic connection anymore. I value our relationship, but I think we're better as friends." For a moment, I didn't speak. My mind was a whirlwind of emotions: anger, heartbreak, betrayal, and a profound sense of loss. The person I had trusted, the one I had built my life around, had suddenly redefined everything between us. It was as if the foundation of my world had shifted overnight. I could feel my pulse racing, my chest tightening, but I forced myself to remain calm. I didn't want to react impulsively, to plead, or to beg. That would give her power over me in a way I refused to allow. Instead, I took a slow breath and let the silence stretch, letting the weight of her words settle before I responded. Finally, I spoke, my voice measured but firm. "Jenna, if that's truly how you feel, I need to respond honestly too." She looked at me, a flicker of curiosity and perhaps a hint of apprehension crossing her face. "I've loved you for years," I said, "and I've invested my heart completely. I have shared my life, my dreams, and my trust with you. But I will not remain in a relationship where my feelings are not reciprocated fully. I won't be a placeholder for friendship when my heart demands more." Her mouth opened, as if to protest, but I raised a hand gently to stop her. "Wait, hear me out," I said. "You may see this as platonic, but I see it differently. If we continue like this, one of us will hurt. And I refuse to be the one who loses myself quietly in a love that isn't mutual. So here's my answer. I can be your friend if that's all you want, but I won't pretend. I won't compromise my heart, and I won't ignore the truth of my feelings. You get to decide how much space you need, but I'm not staying in a half-life of platonic pretense." For the first time that evening, I saw her expression shift. Surprise, then unease, then something like realization. She hadn't expected this response, not the calm, not the clarity, not the refusal to beg or plead. Her eyes searched mine, and I could see her mind working, trying to reconcile her choice with the intensity of my reply. What are you saying?" she asked finally, her voice quieter than before. "I'm saying that I value myself enough to walk away if necessary," I replied. "I love you, yes, but I also respect myself. I won't diminish my feelings to fit your convenience. If you only want friendship, I can offer it, but I will not do so blindly or without boundaries. I will not lose myself to a relationship that no longer honors my love." She went silent, absorbing the words. There was no shouting, no dramatic confrontation, just a quiet tension that filled the room. I didn't move. I didn't demand a reaction. I simply let her process, letting the truth of my stance speak for itself. Minutes passed. Then she exhaled slowly, a mixture of frustration and regret crossing her face. I didn't expect you to respond like that, she said softly. I thought you'd beg me to stay. That you'd, I don't know, compromise everything just to keep me. And that's exactly why I didn't, I said. Because my love isn't about control or desperation. It's about honesty, respect, and integrity. I won't sacrifice who I am for someone who doesn't see me fully or her eyes welled slightly. And I realized she was grappling with more than just my words. She was confronting her own choices. The consequences of taking for granted someone's unwavering love. I need time, she whispered, almost to herself. Take all the time you need, I said. But know this, I won't settle for less than what I deserve. And I won't pretend to be content when my heart is not fully reciprocated. The next few days were tense. We spoke cautiously, navigating the delicate balance between past intimacy and present boundaries. Yet something had shifted. My response had left her unsettled, forcing her to confront the reality of my worth and the consequences of her emotional withdrawal. She began to reflect, to reconsider, and ultimately, to understand the gravity of what she had almost discarded. In the weeks that followed, our relationship changed. There was more honesty, more openness, and a renewed sense of respect. She didn't immediately restore the romantic connection she claimed to have lost, but the dynamics shifted. The power imbalance once subtle, once unquestioned, was recalibrated. I had demonstrated that love is not synonymous with submission, and that standing firm in one's value can transform even the most uncertain situations. I also realized, in hindsight, that the moment she tried to reduce our bond to platonic terms was less about her rejection of me, and more about testing boundaries, about seeing whether my devotion could be taken for granted. My measured, firm reply did more than defend my dignity. It forced her to confront the consequences of emotional neglect, to see clearly the depth of my feelings, and to reckon with the reality that love requires mutual investment. By asserting myself calmly, I had shifted the trajectory of our relationship. I had reclaimed agency, preserved self-respect, and reinforced the principle that honesty and integrity are non-negotiable. The shock I saw in her eyes wasn't anger, it was the sudden clarity that I was not someone to manipulate, not someone whose heart could be casually discounted. Months later, we were in a stronger place, not because she had capitulated, but because mutual respect had been restored. We had learned that love is about reciprocity, that boundaries are essential, and that asserting one's value does not diminish affection, it strengthens it. My reply that night had been decisive, not just for the immediate situation, but for the long-term health of our marriage. I often reflect on that evening as a pivotal moment in our relationship. The words "I only see you platonically" could have led to despair, resentment, or even the unraveling of years of shared life. Instead, they became a catalyst for clarity, honesty, and recalibrated respect. My measured response, firm, calm, and uncompromising, left her speechless, but more importantly, it established a foundation on which our future could be rebuilt, not on insecurity or fear, but on integrity, mutual respect, and authentic love.